Well, good day and welcome back to Commerce Today. My name is Darin Newbold as your host, and once again, we have an encore presentation with our very own Brad Moss coming back as our VP of Sales. We're so excited to have you back, Brad.
Happy to be here, Darin. Thanks for including me.
Very, very good. Well, we have a fun conversation today. This one's going to be about B2B e-commerce marketplaces, the triple win for hosts, sellers, and buyers. Sorry, I had to get a little radio voice in there for that. You can tell that one went. All right, so enough with the radio voice and back to the really good stuff. So, Brad, kind of give me a little bit of an overview, or help our audience have an overview of what are B2B marketplaces.
Sure, thanks, Darin. A B2B marketplace is really it's a common area for buyers and sellers of particular types of products or involved in a particular industry to all come together and buy and sell those goods that are germane to, again, that product type or that industry in a consistent place.
So kind of like a mall, if you will, for B2B type of companies to all come together and...
Yeah, I mean, I like that analogy. It would be like a mall, but a mall that only is for the airline industry, or right, only for the restaurant industry, or only for something. So that's a good analogy.
So we call this the triple threat, or the triple win, I should say. So when we broke it up as hosts, sellers, and buyers, I guess let's start out with what's the benefit to a host? What does that look like, and what's that all mean?
Sure. So somebody will host a business marketplace, right? And when they do, they're going to invite other sellers of like products that are, again, germane to a specific industry or product type to be involved in that. And when they do that, they're going to grow relationships with those folks. And that might be advantageous down the road when they see trends in the industry, et cetera. And again, some of those folks might end up needing the products that they're buying and they didn't have those relationships. So it really allows them to grow their network of similar companies within a space.
Is there an example maybe of a type of a product or something that you've seen that might help kind of put this all together?
Yeah, one I was involved in years past was a client of ours was in the airline industry. Mm-hmm. And so they opened up a marketplace. So they sold a very specific set of products that were used in the airline industry. But then they opened up this marketplace that allowed them to sell ancillary products. And then it brought together this whole community of folks in the aviation industry that wanted to buy all sorts of products. The cool thing for a host is it gives you all sorts of analytics on trends and where things are moving. And if you want to do R&D in a different area because you see it's a really hot space and there's a gap in being able to supply those types of products. So there's a real advantage to a host that wants to open up a marketplace.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, that sounds like some cool stuff. So let's move to the sellers that are in this marketplace. How do they benefit, and what's the drive for them?
Yeah, I mean, big revenue driver for sellers for a few reasons. Generally on marketplaces, B2B marketplaces specifically, businesses are there to conduct business transactions, right? So instead of buying onesies and twosies, you're there to buy 3 or 4 pallets, all right? So your spend per ticket is higher. You've got the ability to market to and message those folks that are involved in the marketplace about, product updates, sales, inventory reductions, whatever the case may be. So there's a real advantage of being able to not broadcast, but narrowcast your message to these people that are on the marketplace because they know, they're in your space, right? You know that they have a real interest of what it is that you're selling. So it's really an ability, again, I'll use the term narrowcast your message to those buyers of mm-hmm. your goods about, again, new products that are coming out, sales, whatever.
Okay. So with this, kind of everybody comes to your online mall, and as a seller then, do you have to worry about competition at all? I mean, do you have to, or does the host kind of make sure that?
Yeah, the host is going to monitor kind of who's in. You hold the cards, right? And you can determine who's in and who's out. But competition's a good thing, right? It's a rising tide lifts all boats. So it's an ability to see what's hot in the space, what's not hot, where you might not be performing like you should from a product perspective. And so, you can go into it scared, or you can go into it as this is a great opportunity.
Okay. All right. So we've we've laid out the hosts. We've talked a bit about the sellers. So now from the buyer's perspective. Now, again, this is buyers that are businesses as opposed to consumers.
Right.
So it's whole different animal,
Yeah,
if
it's
you
a
will,
different animal,
and
yeah.
how the approach is. So talk to me from that perspective.
So if you're a seller, let's say the legacy way of doing this, you've got a particular product type that you like to buy from a particular provider of that product. The old school way of doing it might have been getting on the phone, getting a customer service agent, listening to some hold music that you're not particularly a fan of that genre of music for a while, and then getting them to find, your account and getting them to figure out what your preferred pricing is, et cetera. But if all that is built into the marketplace, it's a few mouse clicks away.
Okay. So you hugely speed up the process.
Hugely speed up the process, able to get, if it's built and architected in the right way, all the preferred pricing based on volume, based on contract terms, et cetera, are all built into the system. So you don't have to have somebody, wading through that on your side. You also have the ability to see what competitive products are out there that might better fit your need, right?
And is there an ability to even negotiate some of the terms possibly and be able to do things better if there was maybe pricing above and beyond, or you were trying to buy a much larger quantity than even you have in the past?
Yeah, again, it comes down to architecture. But if you architect it correctly and you see that there's a really big bulk order that's coming in, you build workflows into your marketplace to determine how are we going to adjust pricing on this. Does this involve human one-on-one interaction, or can we build it all into the system? But all of that is it's open game, right? You can build it however you want it, so you can have as much or as little friction as you want in the experience.
That's awesome. So maybe going back to your example of the airline or aircraft type of parts and those kind of things, how does that, I guess maybe a little bit more of a detailed an example of how does that, if we kind of put it all together, hey, we're walking into the aircraft mall of stuff. Mm-hmm. What might you see and what might that look like, and how would that maybe all come together in a B2B marketplace?
Think of your typical B2C marketplace and what that looks like. But if you go to some of the bigger known B2C marketplaces, we won't name names here, but you can get shoes and books and electronics and clothes, and the list goes on and on and on. If we're using the aviation example, you go in and do you want parts? Do you want lubricants? Do you want fuels? Do you want whatever? And so it's very tailored, and you know exactly what it is that your particular business is looking for. And so now if we go into, the lubricant side, do you need wheel lubricant? Do you need stuff to go, there's a bunch of them, but at least now that's all you're looking for, right? And what you're set up to buy, and you can go and click on it. You can also have, if it's architected correctly, same things as you would find on a B2C marketplace, right? Like the things that you normally buy on a regular basis, right? And you can set them up to refill on a regular cadence every week, every month, every quarter, whatever the case may be. Or, you've just got a list of frequently bought products, and you can go in and say, I don't need as many this month as I did last month. Just change the quantity, hit buy, boom, everything's done. Interesting.
So now as I kind of look at it, going back to the advantages of that host, with the host being able to have all of that analytics, all of that knowledge of the different things that are going on, they can see what's happening and see what's going on through the whole thing, and really have an understanding. And in a way that even becomes a product in and of itself, of being able to sell that information and that knowledge to the different sellers in the marketplace.
Yeah, I hit on this earlier. Data's the new bacon, right? So everybody wants data. And so if you host this marketplace, you've got access to all the data. You can see trends, you can see what's working, a bunch of the functionality that you would see on a B2C website in terms of a user journey, et cetera. All that information is available to you. So you've got a much wider lens view of what's going on in the space now, because you've got all these buyers and sellers of all these similar, industry specific items, and it gives you a wealth of information of what's hot, what's not, what's trending up, what's trending down, etc.
Okay. Well, as we put this all together, kind of what are the keys that we want our listeners to walk away from around B2B marketplaces? What's the big things? I mean, I know we've hit on them, but let's kind of wrap it up as we land this plane, as they might say.
Oh my gosh, well played, Maestro. Again, it's where business is moving. So start looking at them. There's a lot of options in terms of marketplaces. There are companies that sell marketplace platforms. There's build your own, et cetera. There's pluses and minuses, obviously, that come with both of those. So make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze in terms of how much you're going to invest in it, whether you're going third party or building your own, versus what you're going to get out of it. But if you're the host, the data that you're going to get out of it, is going to be invaluable. The relationships that you're going to get by increasing the number of sellers and buyers that are on there. So now you've got more relationships with more companies that you can leverage down the road in different ways. So all those are huge advantages.
Gotcha. All right. Well, and we also, I know in our research, I know, as you mentioned, there are some platforms out there. There's plugins that go into the major e-commerce platforms. I know we found plugins for Adobe Commerce and those things that are great solutions. So we definitely be in a place to love to help people and help answer that. We'd love to hear about your experiences as well. If you have a B2B marketplace, we'd love to hear from you. So feel free to send us a note or shoot us a message and let us know what's happening. Well, Brad, thank you again for coming and joining us for your encore presentation. And with that, we appreciate you all being here for another episode of Commerce Today. Until the next time, take care.